description for the slant of any line, and it gives us a number that measures it. Sometimes slope is negative. When the slant of the line is going downward as we travel from left to right, that's a negative slope. Okay? If the slant of the line is going up as we travel from left to right, that's a positive slope. But what about straight up and down or flat? Well, every horizontal line has a slope of 0, and every vertical line is a slope divided by 0, which is undefined. I like to think of it this way. If you imagine a person walking on water, in this case, that's pretty exciting, on a horizontal line, normally walking on a horizontal surface is pretty easy, right? So as a skill level, you might say the skill level is 0. It's so easy. But walking straight up and down on Half Dome is pretty difficult, possibly even impossible, right? So there's no number for that. I realize mountain climbers do it, but they've got hooks and ropes and stuff, okay? Now, if you're going downhill, that's even easier than flat, and we use negative numbers for things that are less than 0. Climbing uphill is the hardest thing, so you're going to get the greatest values of slope for going uphill. Let's look at how to calculate it. For any line on a graph, if you can find two ordered pairs that have really clear coordinates, like right here and right here, what are the coordinates of those 2 points? Well, the first one is at 25, 14, and the second one is over at 75 and up at 12. Slope is a ratio, so it looks like a fraction. In the top of the ratio, we measure the vertical distance between these 2 points. And in the bottom of the ratio, we measure the horizontal distance. Okay? So in this case, you can think of it this way. The vertical distance goes from here down to a point that's level with the other point. Okay? We call that rise because when it's going up, it's positive. In this case, as I move from left to right on my graph, the rise is actually dropping. So it's going to be a negative amount. In this case, how many units right there? 2. So that's -2 for the vertical distance between this point and this point. That's straight up and down, okay? You can probably see where the other part of the ratio is going to come from. We call it run. So if you were running on a horizontal line from a place even with the first point to a place even with the second point, well, it starts at 25 and goes all the way to 75. So the distance between those 2 points is 50, and it's going to the right, which is positive. So this is our ratio for slope, but it can be reduced, and we should always reduce any fraction we can. So this is -1 over 25, and that describes the slope of this line. Remember, negative means as we go from left to right, it's going down. Okay? Let's look at another example. What if I have an ordered pair for 2 points like these, -4, 7 and 1, 10? How would we find the vertical distance? Well, we could either plot them on a graph, or we could think about this. The distance between the y coordinates is my vertical distance, my rise. Now, for purposes of my ratio, I like to take the second point and subtract, but actually you can do it in any order. You just need to be consistent with the y's and the x's. So if I subtract in this order, that means 10 minus 7. So my top number of my ratio is going to be 3. For the horizontal distance, I want to know how far apart the x coordinates are. So I subtract them. Remember to subtract in the same direction for both. So that means I have 1 minus -4. Well, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. So that's just 5. and that can't be reduced, so my slope is 3/5. Okay, that should get you started with slope.